Do 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 do. This is where we thrive. New York Jets are bad. Let's get this all squared away. Oh, yeah. Yo, Matt, what's up? Deanners, the GOAT, what's up? Keller, what's good, bro? Appreciate you sliding even though you're working. I've had a couple of days off, so it's very fitting that I'm able to be here for once when everyone's working. But I'll be here just yapping and recording. You guys can always go on YouTube, see the content coming out. Gonna recap a little bit of what happened with my Jets to end the season. Talk a little Giants. Talk a little wild card weekend. But before we get anywhere else, at first, we got to see what's going on with these Jets and what we're going to do moving forward because I can't watch another season like what I witnessed today. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Hope everybody's doing great. It's good to see you all. Happy New Year. I hope you all had an awesome holiday weekend with the family. So far, 2026 has been pretty calm in my view. Thank God. I think last year at some point we already had something pop off. Our Jets, we are in this together, man. Facts. Facts. Aaron Glenn got to be fired. Listen, a lot of people are going to say he's got to be fired. Listen, the record is not acceptable. Everyone's on the same wave of fire him, fire him, fire him, fire him. Again, I think we got to let it play out. As much as it's hard to justify why he should stay, bearing the record and how they finished, everyone needs to realize the Jets had a bunch of practice squad players playing the end of the season. A lot of their best players were not playing either. So there's a lot to this. And we'll see. But we'll get into it in a little bit. But, how's everybody feeling? Matt, how are you? Ready for Monday night against Pittsburgh? Hopefully you guys can handle Aaron Rodgers appropriately. I don't think you guys should have any problem with that, but I thought there would be no problem with that guy Loop hitting that kick, and he certainly yanked it. So it is it's a rough one. Rough. Oh man. Well, Keller, how's the weather by you? That just got back from a Catholic conference, so tired. I'm not worried about cereal. All they do is throw it up and run the rock. The Steelers' offense is basically throwing it to Kenneth Gainwell, doing drag routes, bubble screens, slants, and fades. It's really nothing impressive. But it works for them because they play a very tough brand of football. They keep the chains moving. They have a good defense that keeps them alive. Move. Thank you. Dude, watching that kick miss and seeing the Steelers make the playoffs, just it gave me bad flashbacks. Okay? Watching Tyler Loop, I think that's his name. Is that his name, Tyler Loop? Yo, watching Tyler Loop yank that kick, 40-something yard kicks in Pittsburgh don't work. Okay? I experienced this years ago with my very first Jets loss in the playoffs. Heartbreak. When Doug Bryan missed two 40-something yard kicks. I think it was a 44 and a 47. Let me double check. $47 and $43. 47 and 43, that would have won the game for us. When kicks miss right or miss in general at 40-something yards in Pittsburgh, gives me bad flashbacks. So I was laughing with my dad the other day talking about that. The fact that we were just so eager to watch the Jets potentially win, and it didn't happen. So, whew. Anyway, so I'm hoping your offense is going to explode too. We're going to get into that at some point in the later, but also, Astros signed a Japanese non-school, but I haven't even been in touch with baseball news. Baseball news right now to me, just completely foreign. Brandon Killeen, Glenn has to go. We can't draft and develop a quarterback with him here. Listen, we don't know. Honestly, we truly don't know that. We truly don't know that. Does it look like he can? Not really. It doesn't look like that, but he has to prove himself, right? And so we'll get into this in a second. So, as you guys all know, the Jets season finally ended on Sunday with another brutal beating at the hands of the Buffalo Bills, 35-8. Jets finished 3-14, and we have the second overall pick in the draft, clinching 10 straight losing seasons, 15 years, no playoffs. If you would have told me in the summer, or if you would have told me week one after the Jets had a shootout with the Steelers and we lost a tough game that we probably should have won, that the Jets would end up 3-14 and be the second overall pick, I would have called you a madman. Because I had a feeling, and I probably overrated the Jets myself in terms of their talent. I thought this team was really talented last year, poorly coached, and could have easily won a lot more games than it did last year. I thought that with a coaching improvement, it could just, voila, just turn into a 10-win season. So I think I had predicted the Jets to go 10-7 with the schedule. They'd eke out, especially with that back end of the schedule that ended up being a gauntlet for us. That ended up not coming to fruition. The Jets season officially ended once they decided to trade Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams away from the team. But they got that to that point because it seems like the fan base and the coaching staff thought, hey, this is a very talented team. Why can't we just make it happen with this squad? We can win 7 to 10 games with this team. We could put Justin Fields at quarterback, who's stabilized last year with the Steelers. Hey, if we can get him into an offense that he can execute and use his legs, we can run the football, control the clock. We have a defensive talent that can win us games. Well, they went 0-7. And not only did they go 0-7, they lost against the Steelers by 2 points on a field goal. They got beaten down by the Buffalo Bills. Week 3, they lost a heartbreaker against Tampa, but they were kind of uncompetitive to start that game. But they came back, took the lead, had a chance to win, lost on a last-minute field goal because they could not get a stop. Week 4 against Miami, kind of uncompetitive. Opening drive, ran the ball down the field, lost that game. Cowboys, not competitive. The game against the Broncos, should have won. Game against the Panthers, should have won, but lost. So those first 7 games that the Jets had, they lost 4 to 5 games that they by one possession and they got blown out twice. Okay, sometimes you get smacked, sometimes you live to see another day, right? They decide they win against the Bengals against all odds. It seemed like they could not stop anybody. They win that game without Sauce Gardner playing, no Garrett Wilson playing, and Justin Fields playing the final game of his life. Like, whatever. They trade Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams because at that point they decided to pivot and say, this team is not good enough and we need way more resources to fill this team up than we need. Now, I would credit Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn for structuring the contract for Sauce Gardner in a way that they could actually offset his money and get him offloaded so that money comes off the books for next year and they get the assets. Now, that trade tanked the Colts season, and I'm sure Matt, the Astros fan, is very happy to see his rival Colts plummet the way they did. But the Jets got assets for the players that they had available that they could get assets for, and that was smart. Now, they had that stretch where they were competitive, right? Even against the Patriots, not great. They still lost by 13, but they were competitive for most of that game. They had most of their rookies and most of their starters still playing. Still no Garrett Wilson, obviously. Justin Fields, once again, proved that he could not run the offense. And then against the Ravens, they lost. But once they played that Dolphins game and they got Tyrod Taylor injured, or Tyrod Taylor got injured, excuse me, it was over. It was over. Once Brady Cook came into the fold, it was time for the tank. And they truly bottomed out for the very first time that I've ever seen. Now, 2020, they were just a brutal team. In order for them to get Trevor Lawrence that year, they would have to literally win 0 games. That's how our luck went that year. 2021, rebuilding, young team, took their beatings, but it prepared them for 2022, where they started out hot and obviously had a chance at making the playoffs and bottomed out. So this was a year that the Jets actually decided to bottom out. They finished 30th in offense. They finished 30th in offense, 31st in defense. What went wrong for this team was, simply put, that Justin Fields did not maintain his performance from week 1. It was an outlier. He got injured, couldn't really establish a passing game. The defense was a sieve, and they couldn't stop anybody. Really good on first and second down, but terrible on third down. It makes no sense. They eventually fired Steve Wilkes at the end of the season, and those are the phases of the season. Competitive rebuild, some tough competitive losses in the first 7 weeks, 2 uncompetitive losses, maybe 3 if you want to count the Miami game. And they finally win that stretch of games where they won 3 out of 5. To me, if I'm trying to look at things glass half full, for me, I look at when the Jets had a passing offense with Tyrod Taylor, below average, and most of their starters, Mason Taylor, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, A.Z. Thomas, a lot of those players on the defense that they still had at that beginning of the middle of the year, it's stabilized. I feel like that's more representative of what they have going forward. Excuse me. I feel that's more representative of what they're capable of with this coaching staff, despite the limited talent, that they were competitive, fighting, moving the chains, and they were making everybody feel like, okay, they're doing something. They're going somewhere. Once they put in Brady Cook, you went from below average quarterback play of Tyrod Taylor to not even NFL caliber. And Brady Cook, unfortunately, his contributions to the tank will always be remembered for being absolutely awful for the Jets. So the truth is somewhere in the middle. Are they the 0-7 team, or are they the team that went 0-5 to end the season, or are they more of that 3-5 sample size? So that's 7 games. 7 games. Then they have 3-5. They had 3 wins. Then you had the bottom for the last 5. That's how you break it up. Now, the unfortunate part about going 0-7 was that the conversations were not productive about the team. No one could analyze what they were doing well, who's doing what are the strengths that Glenn is showing, right? What is going right for this team? Now, for special teams went incredibly well for the team, for the Jets. A lot of kick return touchdowns, efficient. Punting was great. Kicking was great. Isaiah Williams became a star. Should be an all-pro this year as a returner. Armand Membo was looking great. Joe Tippmann looked great. Olu Fashanu looked really solid. Josh Myers, backup center, got extended, but okay, right? So some things did go well for this team, but we're always going to reflect on what went wrong because it's so glaring how bad they looked. You have non-competitive NFL quarterback play with Brady Cook. You have defensive players that are not even probably NFL roster caliber players. They had no pass rush, no Will McDonald for the end of the season. Jermaine Johnson regressed. No A.Z. Thomas, no starting safeties at all. Despite Tony Adams being bad, he was at least an NFL player. Below average, but he was at least an NFL player out there. The Jets had nobody playing defense at some point. And all year, Quincy and Jamien Sherwood were just not good players for this team. So where's the truth on this Jets team? To be honest, it's so polarizingly bad on both ends. Everyone's gonna say this coach can't wing it here. And it's tough to analyze it. It's tough to defend what Glenn did this year. When you start off 0-7 and lose the way that you did, you didn't do enough to win those games. You didn't do enough. But you start winning a couple of games, people get mad. Then when it seems inevitable that you should just tank out, you decide to effectively tank out and lose the season, what everybody was asking for when they decided to start winning. Now it's an abomination. Now it's an awful product. Now he deserves to get fired. I'm thankfully happy that this season is over. Okay, this was one of the roughest Jets seasons I've ever watched, and I've watched a lot of bad ones. I would argue that 2024 was worse, bearing the expectations. 2023, terrible. 21, awful. 20, terrible. 19, bad. 2016 was even worse. But there is some hope, right? Everyone says it's the Jets. They're going to mess it up anyways. That could be true. But the Jets are expected to have 12 draft picks in the next year, okay, with 4 picks in the top 40. Okay, we have a first-round pick. We have number 2. We have the 16th overall pick. And then we have, I think, 33 and 46, I believe. My nose got itchy. Let's see, Tankathon. We got the Colts pick, right? So obviously the Jets are picking second. We finished out at 3-14. And then we have the 16th pick of the Colts, right? Now what the other picks are, the draft picks. Come on. Anywho. Draft and cap space are the currency of the hope for the Jets, okay? The only way the Jets are going to get out of this pit that they're in is by using all their cap space, probably paying a tax because they're so bad, and then using their draft picks, even though everyone wants to sit here and try to trash them and say they're an awful destination. They're not a great destination because they're the Jets, but they do have more pieces, I think, than other teams. But I think that this year was the worst year I've ever watched because of how they play week 1 and how we collapsed after that. But 5 first in the next 2 years and $100 million in cap this year with a lot of improvements to make, but we have the capital to rebuild it. Agreed, Deanners. Agreed. Listen, they have the cap space. When they decided, the one thing I'll give credit to about Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji this year was once they realized that there was a mistake or there was a glaring issue, they made moves. During the summer, they traded for Jawan Briggs and Harrison Phillips, who actually ended up becoming solid pieces for our defensive line. Right? Those went well. Those were good moves that they used some late round picks on to just get some veteran players. And that turned out to be a win for us. Right? They eventually traded for Jarvis Brownlee, who was a solid contributor in the slot, provided some feistiness and some aggressiveness and some physicality to the back room, in the defensive back room. He didn't play for the rest of the half of the season. I think from the Falcons game on, he didn't play. A.Z. Thomas didn't play either. So when you look at the Jets situation, they do have opportunity to rebuild this roster. Now, a lot of fans are not buying into that. We fired the defensive coordinator, Matt, because the defensive coordinator was just so bad. So they've been able to pivot. Once they realized that Steve Wilks was not cutting it, they just got rid of him. Right now, the logic behind hiring Steve Wilks was, hey, everyone says the consensus is if you're a rookie head coach, have an experienced head coach on your staff that can end up helping you process things, think through things, and support you as you grow into the role. And I think Wilks provided that. But the defense was terrible. Not creative, no blitzes getting home, playing press man on third down, very predictable, very easy to scheme against. They were one of the worst defenses in football. What's up, Swag? How we doing, bro? So when they've identified needs, they've moved, which I can appreciate. Once it was very clear that they couldn't win with Fields, they tried to sit him for Tyrod. They would have put Tyrod in for the Bengals game if he was 100% healthy. But he wasn't very healthy. We saw him come in cold against the Panthers. Didn't do too well. Got injured. They won the next game after that. So, I get it. It's hard to defend what happened this year. Okay? When Glenn comes in fiery and talking about we're the New York Jets, we're built for this, and we expect to win, it may have given that perception to the fan base that, hey, if we just get a good coach, we have enough roster players on this team, we have enough players on this roster to compete, well, we can win. But anybody that really knew that the Jets roster was a little top heavy and that they had a lot of players that fit the Saleh team, but maybe not necessarily the Glenn era right now. And obviously everybody knows how we feel about the Robert Saleh Jets and a lot of those and that mope and the down on their luck type of guys that they can be. My Christmas and New Year was great, Swag. It was great, bro. I appreciate it. So it's hard, bro, because I totally get the fans that want to fire him. The sample size is terrible. What we've seen is not good. What we've seen has been hard to watch. It's hard to sit there and watch the final month of December and the Jets lost by an average of 20 points every game. Where the first quarter, it was 21-0 at least 2 or 3 times this year. And the Bills' backups going up and down the field, basically being unchallenged by the Jets' preseason practice squad level players. It's hard. But listen, it's very clear that Muji and Glenn are going to be here to stay. They have the assets to turn this around. They have to get a defensive coordinator. They have to get some offensive coordinators and offensive minds inside the room to support what's going to possibly be a rookie quarterback. They promised to leave no stone unturned to get a new quarterback, whether it's through the trade market, through the veteran signing, free agency, the draft, obviously. Maybe they should take 1 or 2 swings in the draft, considering how we are with the Jets. They promised to use all this cap space. They have a lot of premium capital. Right now, premium capital is what it is. You know, you're going to get 4 high-quality, high-end players this year in the draft. And so, while many people are out on Aaron Glenn already, they've already given up. Ship has sailed. Go ahead. Like, fan how you want to fan, bro. Fan how you want to fan. I'm not going to sit here and tell Jet fans, get on back on the train. I'm not. Like, they don't have to listen to Aaron Glenn when he says, just believe, just believe, just believe. How it's very hard to. I'm going to say Saleh started out year 1, brutal, and he ended up getting 4 years here. 4. And to be honest, he probably could have been fired after 2022 when they lost 6 in a row to miss the playoffs. And then they got a mulligan in 2023 when they probably could have fired him in 2023 because the team was an abomination in 2023 to end the year in the middle of that stretch. So if Saleh can get 4 years with the Jets to try to get 2 cracks at quarterback, get their own guy, etc., why would Aaron Glenn not get the same treatment from ownership? To at least try to pick their quarterback in this year or even next year, if worst comes to worst. Why would they not get that opportunity? When Aaron Glenn says they're going to work hard to get this done and they have a plan in place, Listen, what their plan went in place when they traded Sauce Gardner, and it seemed like they were preparing this for that when they were negotiating his extension, which made his contract movable. It seems like they were planning to possibly trade him from the summer, knowing that the team probably needed way more assets and they needed to be flexible in that area. That's honestly good thinking. Agreed, Brandon. Linderbaum should be a top target. Make the offensive line a brick wall, just like the Rex Ryan era for whoever the next quarterback is. Yep. And all told, Price Center who can help a rookie quarterback. Yes. Build that line. Have a strong run game. Get Garrett Wilson. Get another wide receiver in the veteran market. Draft another wide receiver. Let's start stashing this team up with talent. So their plan is in place. They don't get that buy-in without talking to Woody Johnson about it first. We're going to trade Sauce Gardner, who's our top player on the team and one of the biggest, most popular players in recent Jets history. We're going to trade him for 2 first-round picks and a wide receiver, A.D. Mitchell, and we're going to trade Quentin Williams, who's been a centerpiece for this defense for a long time. We're going to trade it all out. We're going to play it out, bottom out, get the best draft pick, and accrue all this cap space and accrue all this. All these assets. Their plan is in place. They deserve, whether you like it or not, they deserve a right to play it out. I'm willing to watch them play it out. Because to be honest, if they get fired, it's no different from where they were with Saleh and Douglas. It's no different from where they were with Maccagnan and Gase, or Douglas and Gase, or Maccagnan and Idzik, and all these guys. Bowles and Idzik, Bowles and Maccagnan, you name it. You know all the combinations. It's no different. They'll just get another guy. And worst comes to worst, they have 3 first-round picks in 2027 to dangle that in somebody's face and say, hey, we have four picks in the top 50 of the draft this year if we bottom out. I'm willing to see him play it out. Because a part of the reason why I wanted Aaron Glenn on this team was the fact that he knows what it's like to be a Jet player in a hopeless situation and then see and observe players, a coach like Parcells come in and turn it around and be one of the players that was part of the change. Parcells very well could have just traded him away. He was an undersized corner. He had blazing speed. He had ball skills. He could have been traded for assets. But Parcells allowed Glenn to stay on the team and become a part of that Jets team that was half an hour away from the Super Bowl against Denver, and easily could have been a Super Bowl contender in '99, and were really solid in 2000. Weird year, but 2000 they were solid. And he eventually moved on to become a coach. He improved the Saints defensive back room. He improved the Lions defense. They were top 10 in defensive efficiency last year. They lost all of their players last year. And if everybody remembers, if anybody forgot, they absolutely destroyed Sam Darnold at the end of the season when they were playing for the NFC North. And everybody was singing the praises of Glenn, that with the team, with the players that he had, he was able to scheme and scramble Darnold's brain. Let's look at Darnold's stat line last year. Sam Darnold against the Lions last year against Aaron Glenn's defense. 18 of 41, 166 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 4 yards of average a pass, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 2 sacks, a rating of 55. Everybody was singing the praises of Aaron Glenn last year with his makeshift defense because Hutchinson got hurt, a whole bunch of their players got hurt, and they still made Sam Darnold look silly. So he can coach. He's been part of developing programs, granted in a different role. Defensive backs coach, all you can worry about is improving the defensive backs. The Saints defense did get better. The Lions defense over time did get better under Aaron Glenn. And so if you're going to believe the trend, the odds are the Jets will be better. Now, how much better can they be? Will they be 2 games better? Will they be 3 games better? Will they be 4 games better next year? Because the truth is, he's going to need to have a very, very, very solid start next year before the fans are screaming and going rabid at MetLife next year. So Aaron Glenn has a lot to prove. I want to see him prove it. Show us that you actually believe. He has to show us. That's it. The grace period is over. 0-7. Then when they won 3 out of their 5, they bottom out with the final 5. That's it. The good graces are over. It's now time for them to really bolster this team, get some players in here that buy in, that will be feisty, will be fighters, some ass kickers, and play with pride. And give the Jet fans a team that we could be proud of, like he said. This is not a team that we be proud of, and I'm sure they're not proud of it. They're not stupid. They know this is not NFL quality. So I'm willing to let them see how it plays out. I want to see how Aaron Glenn responds. I tell this to my team all the time. When things don't seem to go your way and things are going left and right and haywire, things don't go the way you want them to, I want to see how you can respond. We're going to see what Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji are made of in the next 90 days from now on. 90 days will be March 7th. No, April 7th. By that point, we should have a new defensive coordinator, new offensive talent in the coaching staff. And we should have a bunch of free agent signings that we can feel good about before we get to the draft. And it should be combine time and pro days, and we'll be weeks away from the draft. 90 days. We'll see where the Jets are in 90 days, and we'll be following it along the whole entire time. But I want to see what he's made of. I want to see how he lives this out. Can he get a defensive coordinator that's worth a damn? Can he get offensive-minded guys? Can he get free agents to buy into what we're selling here? It's a hard sell. They might have to overpay. But can they get players in here that want to be a part of the turnaround? I'm down to see it. If it fails, he leaves, we try again. That's what it is. It's been the cycle for the last decade and a half. One more year ain't going to kill us if we have to do it again. But I hope that next year is a lot better. So, off top, have you been following the MLB signings? I haven't followed anything baseball. Honestly. Now, the Giants ended this season 4-13. They got the 5th overall pick. They will be interviewing candidates. From what I saw, they will be interviewing Mike McCarthy next week. I'm sure they're going to be interested in John Harbaugh, who I think is going to have a lot of suitors. And with that information, Ty Simpson is turning pro. He just informed coaches of his decision. One name to add to the quarterback mix in the draft. All eyes on Moore, but at least there's another option for the Jets if they take one with the top pick. Dameon Pierce or Raheem Morris. I wouldn't mind taking Raheem Morris. I personally would prefer that, we get a guy like Jim Leonard or Al Harris. It's going to be hard to get those types of guys. But if we can get a really strong defensive coordinator that plays it really, really aggressive, I'm down with that. What's up, Jets Nation? YT, appreciate it. You want Harbaugh to be Texas OC? Nah, he won't be that. So my guy Will Parkinson says here, all eyes are on Moore, but at least there's another option for the Jets should they not take one with a top 2 pick. We have to watch what Dante Moore does this week, but we will see if maybe Ty Simpson's an option. Maybe he is. I like him as an option. I think he's got a lot of grit. He's a little raw, but he's got some moxie. He's got a little fight to him. So if there's a situation where maybe Dante Moore doesn't come out and it's just Mendoza goes number 1, the Jets go best player available or trade down, maybe you get Ty Simpson later in the draft. Maybe. Could be worth a shot. But the Giants obviously have a lot of options in their hands. I would be shocked if the Giants don't make a run at Harbaugh. I think, honestly, everyone still esteems the Giants as this wonderful franchise, even though they're just as bad as the Jets. But they get the benefit of the doubt, of course. But I'd be interested in seeing if they would get him and get him in for an interview. I think he would do well for the Giants. We'll see how it plays out. He left the Ravens after 18 years. Could it just be another Andrew Reid situation where you pair up Jackson Dart and a young quarterback and a young Giants team with a guy like Harbaugh with experience? I think that could work out for them. I really do. Now, the Giants' cap space, not as big as the Jets, obviously, but they have 7 draft picks for 2026. So let's see what they can do with those assets. I think they'll be pretty solid. Scatterbo comes back. Neighbors comes back. They're going to need a wide receiver. They need more in the defensive room. They maybe could use another strong running back to help spell Scatterbo, so keep the load off of him. But I'll be interested in seeing what the Giants do with their assets and how they try to improve. They got a lot of pieces on the defensive line that I like, that I envy. You got Kayvon Thibodeau, Carter, Burns, and Lawrence. That's a foundation. Can they get a corner? Can they get some really strong pieces in the linebacker room? It'll be interesting to see what the Giants do in that area. Maybe Arvell Reese or C.J. Allen could be somebody that's really good. Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs. The Giants have a lot of options there in that area, but they'll definitely have some work to do. They have to really try to protect Dart, protect him from himself, and hopefully he comes out. So really good news there on Ty Simpson coming out. So we move on. Wildcard weekend. Wildcard weekend is the best weekend in football. And honestly, the fact that they formatted it with Saturday, Sunday, Monday games, I find it to be really cool. It keeps the action going. The NFL just takes over everything. The next 2 or 3 weeks of football are the best games of the year. Okay, so first up, we got Rams at Panthers. Now, the Panthers and Rams had an interesting shootout earlier this year. Panthers ended up winning that game, which was a massive upset of the Rams, who were rolling at that time in an absolute wagon. They'll play at 4:30 at the Panthers game in North Carolina, Very curious to see if Devontae Adams will be healthy enough to play. I expect him. He had full participation in practice. And so while I like the story of the Panthers and their grit and them winning the NFC South with a sub 500 record, I do think that the Rams are one of the best teams in the NFC. I think the Rams have a very legitimate shot at the Super Bowl this year, even though the NFC is probably the more tightly contested conference. I got the Rams taking this one, but I think that'll be a very fun game, a good way to kick off Saturday. And it's all NFC dominated because at 8:30 or at 8 o'clock, it'll be the storied rivalry of Packers versus Bears. Now, last time these two teams played, was it Thanksgiving or Christmas? No. Black Friday. Was it? No, I'm bugging. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Packers versus Bears. We obviously know the history of these storied rivalries. Bears at 11-6, Packers at 9-7-1. They had played earlier this year. I think they had split. Bears have had a lot of come from behind wins. Yeah, Packers won 28-21 on December 7th. Bears had that miracle win in overtime on December 20th, winning 22-16. And so we'll see how this matchup plays out. I think this is a great way on Saturday night. I always loved watching the Jets play on a Saturday night on Wildcard weekend. The 8 o'clock game, it's on Prime Video. I don't know why the NFL continues to outsource all their best products. If they're playoffs, just leave it on the network. Leave it on the network so everybody can watch it. Not everybody has Prime Video. Not everybody wants to fiddle with that. So hopefully there's a local solution for anybody that doesn't have Prime Video. Stop outsourcing everything for $1. Okay? Just leave the product for the fans to watch it on NBC. Perfect. Okay? Now, Sunday transitions over to Bills and Jaguars at 1 o'clock. Jaguars were superb this year. Obviously, Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence hit it off well, and they will be hosting the Buffalo Bills. Jaguars were 13-4, and with a tightly contested, top-heavy AFC, they were very close to being the 1 seed. but they will take on the 6th seed Bills at 12-5. Think about that. The Bills at 12-5 and are the 6th seed. Bills going onto the road against the Jaguars. What type of Bills team are we going to get? All right. I'm very curious to see what the Bills do, right? The Bills are playing finally in the AFC playoffs with no Lamar Jackson and with no Patrick Mahomes in the wild card in the tournament. Can this be the year that the Bills actually make it? And I was joking with a Bills fan that I know at work. If the Bills don't do it this year, I don't know when they will, because this is their prime opportunity. I firmly believe, I didn't give a prediction for the Bears-Packers. I think the Bears are going to win that one at home. But Bills-Jaguars, I'm going to go with the Bills here. They're the veteran team. I know the Jags are a veteran team as well. But I just think it has to be their year. No Mahomes, no Jackson. If it's not this year, it'll never happen. So I think the Bills are going to edge this one out. This is going to be a thrilling game. Would not be mad at all if the Jaguars did end the Bills, because that's always good to laugh at your rivals, right? When you're the Jets and you hate watching your rivals, watching them lose isn't that bad. But if you want to be a pragmatic NFL fan, this would be cool to see the Bills make it to the divisional round and see if they can play the Patriots or the Broncos. Next, 4:30, San Francisco 49ers versus the Eagles. The Niners have done a superb job playing through their injuries. No Fred Warner, no Nick Bosa. I wish those guys were very healthy so that we can see both teams at full strength. Trent Williams was injured last week. Their team is completely different without Trent Williams on the line. Like, he is like the most valuable non-quarterback player outside of McCaffrey or Saquon Barkley. Trent Williams is the 49ers offense. So I'm hoping that he can play. Hamstring, knee, and ankles. I would anticipate that a guy like Trent, big-time veteran, probably doesn't need much practice time, just shows up for the game, handles business, keeps the momentum going, and they do what they got to do. But if they don't have that, I don't see how the 49ers will end up beating the Eagles if they don't have Trent Williams in. And so let's see. Zion, what's up, bro? Good to see you. What's happening? Now, the finale for Sunday night will be Chargers and Patriots. Now, I haven't really followed the Chargers as much as I probably should have. Obviously, they're a West Coast team, and they're playing the Patriots, who I know very well. Patriots at 14-3, Chargers at 11-6. A lot of people will sit there and try to scoff at the Patriots record. Good to see you too, my brother. A lot of people will scoff at the Patriots record and say they played no winning teams. Listen, you can only account and beat the team that's in front of you. If you win 14 games, you have to be a good team, okay? Drake May, run game, veteran team, Vrabel, defense is solid, going up against a very nuts and bolts, tough Chargers team, tough defense, Justin Herbert. How do the Chargers look going across the country, playing in the cold, playing at New England? I think that weather could be an impact. Packing up, ready to go to school, Zion? Cool. That's good, bro. I don't see the Chargers. I've had this little saying, the Chargers are always going to Charger. I think this could be a tight game, and the Patriots just edge it out. I don't know how. I don't see the Chargers winning this one. I think the Patriots continue to keep rolling. They'll have an opportunity to prove that they can beat winning teams, and I think this will set up a nice date with their next opponent. Now, the final game of the weekend is Texans-Steelers. Texans obviously got super hot, 12-5. Steelers, very odd up and down team, but they're the Steelers. Consistency, defense, Aaron Rodgers managing the game, doing what he does best, keeping the ball out of harm's way for the most part, as long as he's not throwing it 20 yards downfield. And they won against the Ravens, and hats tip to them. You know what? People want to call them lucky. I want to call them lucky because I just can't stand that they win off of a missed kick. But they won. 10-7. They deserve respect. Texans have C.J. Stroud, solid offense, outstanding defense. I with how the Steelers are up and down with their defense, I know they'll get DK Metcalf back. Excuse me, with their offense, I know they'll get Metcalf back. It's a hard to move against those Texans. It really is. I can see this being a low scoring struggle game. Could see this game being 20-13, 20-17, 20-16. I think I'm gonna go with the Texans on this one. So we'll see. Wildcard weekend, could be wrong. The picks that I got the Rams beating the Panthers, Bills beating the Jaguars, Patriots beating the Chargers, Texans beating the Steelers, Bears beating the Packers, and Eagles beating the Niners. So we'll see. That'll set up a really interesting wildcard round. We'll get the Seahawks involved. We'll get the Broncos involved. And listen, let's just enjoy this time. Wildcard weekend is great. Fun time. Great games. Have a party. Get people over your house. Get games on Saturday night. Get games on Sunday night. Monday night's going to be a treat. And I think that's going to be cool. I want Denver because their fans are annoying. Texans and Denver will be great. That'd be a great matchup. Is that who you guys would play in the brackets, I think? We'll see who plays who. Always depends on who plays the highest seed, lowest seed, etc. Should be cool. Now, chat. If all road teams win, we host the division. Oh, wow. Super Bowl predictions, right? Super Bowl 60. I can't believe we're at that number. 60. February 8th, 6 o'clock. Levi Stadium. It's always hard to pick who's going to be in the Super Bowl. I'm going to sit here and go out on a limb and say that I think it's going to be between the Bills and the Rams. I think Bills-Rams or Bills-Eagles. I think out of the entire AFC, the team that I know can absolutely make it, and the team that I feel like is probably most excited about being in the playoffs, now, not saying anybody else is not excited, but that they have the most to play for because Mahomes and Jackson are not in there, is the Bills. If the Bills don't get it done this year, I don't know when they'll ever get it done. But you have to feel like in the entire AFC, it's wide open. And the NFC, I truly think it's between the Seahawks, Rams, and the Eagles. Now, the Bears are no joke, too. So it's tightly contested. But I'd be stunned if it's not the Bills in the Super Bowl. Rams and Pats rerun Super Bowl? I don't know. I think the Bills are a team of destiny this year. Bills fans have to be salivating at the thought of not having to deal with Mahomes and Jackson. They have to feel like this is the time for us to get in. This is the time for us to get in. Seriously. But the Texans did beat the Buffalo Bills this year earlier. Defense is on point, bro. Defense wins. Defense and run game matter a lot in the playoffs. Who can play defense and who can run the ball, who can control time of possession, etc. So let me know what you think. Who's going to the Super Bowl this year? My pick right now, Bills versus Rams. Bills versus Rams, and I think in that situation, I'll just go with the Rams. But I think the Bills have a solid chance. Bills fans have to be feeling it, bro. They have to. Well, we've been live for about 50 minutes already. I ranted on and on about the Jets, and, I didn't even talk about the college games. Well, this week, we got some great college football games. Now, thank you, Zion. Appreciate it, bro. Hold fast. I got a Dietrich Bonhoeffer quote on the back of this shirt. Really cool. College football playoff is going to be something to behold this week. Obviously, Miami versus Ole Miss. Can Trinidad Chambers continue to look really good? Can he continue to rise as a prospect and solidify himself as a top quarterback for the next year? Heck, maybe he gets a change of heart and goes, I want to stay in school. No, excuse me. I want to go to the pros. Who knows? But the game that everybody's watching, the Peach Bowl, Oregon versus Indiana on Friday night. honestly the biggest game for Jet fans of 2026. Dante Moore versus Indiana. Both of these teams had a shootout earlier this year, with Indiana coming out on top. I expect um, both of these teams to go back and forth. It was 30-20, with Mendoza posting out 215 yards passing. Moore got outplayed that game, right? Moore was 21 for 34 with 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. Had 186 passing yards. Mendoza was just solid. 20 of 31, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. These teams rematch against each other. I'm curious to see can Dante Moore play well enough to the fact that maybe he even beats Indiana and solidifies himself as a potential top 5 draft pick, which he actually would be. And how will that play out for the teams that are in the top 3 of the draft, right? Because if Moore doesn't come out, I think all Jet fans are going to be heartbroken. If it's just Mendoza, well, we know he's going to the Raiders then at that point. But Moore at least gives the Jet fans hope that either he'll be there or Mendoza will be there. And at that point, for me, if we get Mendoza or Moore, I'm happy with it. But if Moore is not in that draft, I'm curious to see what the Jets do at that point. I'm very curious to see what the Jets do at that point. So this is an awesome opportunity for a lot of these young quarterbacks to make a name for themselves, to grow, and to become a team that or become a quarterback. Blah, 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 blah. Also an opportunity for these quarterbacks, Chambliss, Mendoza, Moore. Chambliss came out and said he's going to come back to school. Maybe that changes with an insane championship run. Mendoza, we know, is probably going to come out. Will Moore be tempted to come out and come out of the draft? Remember, the more options the Jets have at quarterback, the better. So I'm hopeful that they will have more. So let's see. Ugh. What a great time. Hey, boss, what's up, bro? Good to see you, bro. Congrats on soon-to-be boy or girl Yankee fan. Yeah, it's a boy. Yeah, I'm having a son, thank God. I mean, I was gonna be happy anyways if it was a boy or girl, but you get what I'm saying. Like, it's something about growing up with brothers, being the firstborn, and having a son for your first child. So I'm ecstatic, bro. Honestly, this process of becoming a father, and I'm seeing a lot of friends of mine, a lot of people in my circle I see on socials that I've known in this phase of being parents, and I'm just happy to see it. Honestly, this is the way it's supposed to be. We were all made here to build families, to build legacies, to lead, especially as men, bro. Project MLB on the way. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that. But man, I'm just so humbled and honored. One, I'm appreciative of everybody's outpouring love and feedback from the Instagram post, my story, etc. My wife and I are ecstatic to be welcoming this boy into our lives. And man, it's like sometimes it's daunting, but man, I love a challenge. And I've always loved the challenge. I feel like, you get a girlfriend, you're like, oh, we're boyfriend, girlfriend. How long does that go for? I've always told people my biggest regret is that I didn't get married sooner, because I just appreciate the amount of growth that I felt in myself and that I've seen in my wife. How much more further along could we been if we did it a long time ago? But I don't get stuck and harp on that. Like it's just so great to be married that I'm like, man, I wish I did this 5 years ago. Why didn't I? And so now having a child on the way, man, that just heightens your senses, it heightens your awareness, it heightens your urgency, it humbles you. And I was thinking about it, I'm like, man, when we first found out, I was talking to my father, and my father was like, he's very small right now, but God knows who your son is. God knows who your son is going to be and what he's going to be like. I don't know that yet, right? But I tell my wife all the time, especially, you know, during pregnancy for women is a daunting challenge. It's amazing to see what their body does, what a woman's body can do, and what it's designed to do. But it's still something as a husband you have to support your wife through. And so it only angers me that a lot of men ditch their woman when they're pregnant. Okay, girlfriend, fiance, wife, whatever. Just handle business. Handle business. Okay, because she needs you. What's going on in her body is a lot, and don't chicken out. Rise to the challenge and be a man. Right? But man, I told my wife, man, like, God knows who this boy is, and he is our son. We were chosen to steward his life, and to me, that is amazing. It's a humbling experience, and it makes me want to continue to grow as a man every single day, to make sure that my wife has what she needs. You know, there's always questions about, are we going to work? How are we going to provide? Are we going to go to one job? Are you going to support this? And how are we going to take care of him? And listen, I don't worry about it too much. You know, I told my wife, put it on my shoulders. Like, let's do it. I'm down. If it means I got to work more, then I'll work more. If I got to be utilizing my talents on content, etc., who knows? Whatever it takes, I'm going to do what I can, and I'm going to allow God to work it out. Because I'm telling you right now, he would not give me this son if it wasn't prepared for and taken care of already. All right? I'm just going to work hard, do what I can, do my best to be a great father to him, steward his life, guide my wife and protect her and support her and provide for her so she can do what she wants to do, and we can both pour into this child. Like, it's amazing. I love it. So again, if you're an expecting parent as well, I hope that this is an exciting time for you. I know it's going to be challenging and daunting, and you're going to feel tired and exhausted and maybe sick, but it's worth it, right? Nothing good in this life comes without a little hard work and a little challenge. And it's a blessing to be a soon-to-be father. And I know my brother feels the same way, and I'm grateful, bro. Like, I'm just excited for this journey, and just, it's going to be fun. You know, it's going to be fun to watch Jet games with him, Yankee games. And what if he doesn't even like sports? That's fine. Like, what if he just wants to be in the books and be a student and, like, you know, he could be a sage, like, very wise, very smart and intelligent. However he is, I already love him a lot. So we're moving along. 2026 is going to be an awesome year. Looking forward to continuing to do some content, talking Jets, talking football, observing how this football season unfolds for college football and for how the Jets offseason unfolds. You know, seeing what the Yankees do, seeing the World Baseball Classic, you know, around that time when Yankee season starts, my son will probably be here. So I'm just going through the motions, and I'm just grateful to be in this season, man. Like, this season of preparation, season of meditation, just, you know, studying what we can do. We're looking at, I think, March 24th is the due date. So it's coming, bro. He's coming, and I can't wait for him, and I'm just thankful to God for the opportunity to have a son, because from when I was young, I've always wanted to be married, and I've always wanted to be a dad. You know, like, I don't know what young kids thinking about being a father and being a parent, but if there is a young kid out there that's aspiring to be that, there's no problem with that, because this is a good thing. You know, God wouldn't make things, make structures like the family for it to be no good, you know? So I'm excited. Well, about an hour on the stream. I appreciate everybody being here. Thank you guys for always supporting me and coming on in. We're going to continue to do what we can to keep this going. Let's be live once a week, twice a week, get some content going, and let's have a good time. Anyways, appreciate y'all, and have a good one.